let's get this show on the road. I've loaded up the newest version of Ruler of Steel that is currently available because there were some issues with the 3.8.5 updates because it changed the turret rotation rules. Hopefully they've had a chance to address that. I'm not actually certain one way or the other. The center of a continent called the Land is this battlefield. There, 4 forces are vying for supremacy, each with their own ideals. You are thrown into the fray. Will you put an end to this long-lasting conflict, or will you be defeated and become a vassal state? It is up to you. So I'm reasonably certain that I've heard this plot before somewhere. Yes, this is a fertile land, and we will thrive. We will rule over all the land, and we will call it this land. I think we should call it your grave. So, that's what it reminds me of, at least. I have never and will never do this. So, kick it off, damage factor 3, volume limit 5000, no shield projector, no lambs for the player. So the custom settings is just how threatening you're perceived, but apparently there's still issues with setting this to very hard, according to the description on the Steam Workshop, so I'll set it to medium. They do say that very hard makes it too easy, and, well, Japanese difficulty scales are always a mild cause for concern for me.
Listening.
You never really know what you're going to get. All the vehicles in this game are classified as easy with very few exceptions. And, well, a lot of them are very good. I don't think it's just like a humble bragging thing. It's probably so that the AI gives you a better selection of vehicles, so that you don't have to choose a specific difficulty to get a certain cross-section of vehicles. So these resource zones do give you a lot of resources. There's 2 right by you at the beginning that do 256 per second, which means we need to add a lot of resource harvesters. This should do. I did actually try recording this episode before, but the battles were very claustrophobic and confusing. It was very clear I had no idea what was going on during them, and it did not... It just wasn't very engaging. So there we have it, 256 per second. So I'm going to spawn some vehicles in. Curse you, sudden yet inevitable betrayal. So, yeah, here it is. So, get some vehicles, take this over pretty quickly, expand to more resource zones as I can. For a small volume limit, this really throws a lot of resources at you. Like, almost unreasonable number of resources at you. And so where I was going with this, why I'm actually recording this again, is I was having battles with very large number of vehicles at the same time. I was only spawning some of them in at a time, and the battles moving away from the spawning vehicles, the order that they're spawning in was weird, so they're all interleaved with each other. I had no clue what was happening. It was not engaging at all from the perspective of somebody watching it. I'm going to try to avoid that. I'm going to try to split the fleets, see if I can get them to split the fleets, smaller battles, spawn everything in at the same time. I'm going to capture a bunch of stuff, and then once we started impinging on the nomadic brigade's land, I'll rejoin you, and we'll see where we're at. Alright, looks like we've already got another declaration of war. The Allied Forces Eastern Strategic Experimental Corps. Sorry, but we can't recognize you. This has poorly translated GLaDOS vibes to it. You'll be our test subjects. So far, I've been spreading out a little bit. There's still more to go by the time I get to the Nomadic Brigade. And I still have to consolidate my forces a little bit. These guys are under construction, more guys under construction. The general composition is going to be fairly small vehicles for me. The Nomadic Brigade likes to use a lot of rat tanks, so I don't want to spawn in my large front-siders that use kinetic penetrators that'll often just go straight through them without dealing damage. I'm more going to use my own light tanks, and I've got rattier rat tanks than their rat tanks, so I'm going full-on rat for this battle. Alright, so here's what the first battle against the Nomadic Brigade looks like. So, on the minimap, these each show up as two different vehicles, 2 different light tank groups. So let me try to find the center one. So 94,000 total split among these vehicles, with them each costing about 31,000 each. So they're little kinetic rat tanks that can actually make a mess of the bomber. We'll see how much damage the bomber does. This is generally going to be the MVP of any battle that she's in, and I should have put 2 of her in here probably, I only have 1. Here are the Charybdis, and the important thing here is that the anti-air actually shoots them. It often doesn't. It is supposed to shoot fast-flying, unstable targets, but it's questionable sometimes. So, other than that, I have 2 actual tanks, which are cost-wise pretty much on par with the enemy's vehicles, and then I've got a ton of little rat tanks, the mechs. I think I have about 10 of them in this battle, and then I've got 1 anti-air all the way in the back. And the reason for that is because this is all frontal armor, and almost nothing on the sides, the rear, the top, or the bottom. So I can take these kinetic rounds from the enemies, but if I get close and they start to flank me, it's game over very quickly. So I also don't have detection on automatic detection right now. I said I might. Turns out I'm not doing it. So yeah, so there will be some accuracy issues sometimes. So here goes our bomber taking a lot of fire. But she spins around very tight. Looks like the anti-air is continuing to go for the other nuke. You saw that one detonate quite abruptly. We'll see if this nuke can actually hit my bomber or not. My bomber might actually kill the nuke. It is possible. These are guided missiles. In the meantime, well, the bomber's absolutely making a mess of these. They do not have the ability to take these shots top down, and the mech shots hit like a truck with 3 times damage. First strike capabilities are very important in this game mode. Oh, it looks like the Charybdis got a wing removed. So this is 2Q coming in from the anti-air, so it does really rip things apart, but it's not always good at hitting fast, unstable craft that just need to be touched for a moment. But it gives it more capability against light tanks or armor that, you know, approach it in cost. They do all have smoke, so it doesn't do the best, but it still will, on some enemies, break through several beams and destroy them. So, moderately disadvantageous battle for us, but the enemy took, well, it really tried to kill the bomber and it failed. Put all its eggs in one basket. You kind of do have to kill it, and if they had a good shot, they could have managed it. And now our vehicles have closed in quite a bit. My forces were split a little bit. I would have liked the tanks to start closer in so the bomber wasn't all by itself for a little bit. I also have more bombers on standby, I just didn't bring them in to make it more fair. I will probably have multiple bombers in some of the later fights, because it's a total disaster if I lose one compared to if I didn't. At least if I only have one. Now, for my second trick, well, their army is occupied elsewhere. My bomber is going to take out this mining base because their army is getting pulled elsewhere to my engaging armies. I don't think anything other than a bomber is necessary. I don't think these things fight back, but, well, I don't have repair tentacles or repair drones anywhere except for bases. So I have to go back to a base to repair, and Kanbei must have bases too. So we'll go and take these down pretty quickly and slap my own base down on top of it. Alright, the enemy launched a surprise attack while I was capturing, so we've got something a little bit different this time. I believe this is one of their main tank groups, and comes along with these guys. So they have a lot of hard kill countermeasures in this campaign in general, and these missiles are actually pretty nasty. Let's see, they've already launched. I do have vehicles with a lot of missile countermeasures on their own, so the missile firepower is. So this is actually like 2 of my rat tanks worth of missiles, I guess. Mine didn't fire quite as gracefully as theirs did, but about 2 of my rat tanks worth of missiles. And then we've got these guys who are, they're also like a technical, or okay, ATG. They're a bit different than the ones that we saw before, but same general concept. This time my forces are a bit more powerful than theirs because they attacked a pretty large group of units, and there are no UAVs, so the anti-air is just going to sort of chill at the back and maybe chip in a little bit. So I do have a spy satellite in here. That's what those are going after. I don't know if it has any defenses. It probably doesn't. It's probably going to explode. I've got 2 bombers, which are going to shell a lot. And then I've got these stealth bombers operating in the background. It's what the spy satellite is for. I do not see the targeting laser from the spy satellite. I am looking around for it. So I wouldn't have expected it to get hit so soon. Maybe I didn't spawn it. No, it's in here, still at 100%. Just not actually doing the thing for some reason. Okay, it is doing the thing, I just wasn't seeing it. So, this is guiding in the large missiles from the stealth bombers, at least when it's actually successfully painting the target. Oh, here comes one, and it missed. Yeah. This height, it's a little hard to target smaller enemies sometimes. We also took a significant amount of damage here for the anti-air. She's still operating to some extent, a bit limited firepower. So again, very, very low armor on the sides. The missile strike to the sides, pretty bad. I can't put lambs on, so no real defense for that. Although, you know, I could put hard kill measures, but I have them on a lot of the other vehicles. They just didn't help out here, I guess. The light tanks have a few, and the bombers are actually my primary ones. They'll circle over the enemy, and they'll rain down. They have 6 sets of small missiles that are providing anti-missile firepower. They can actually suppress missiles quite harshly. Here I am, snuck up on once again. So I spawned in a little... Actually, this is the exact same tank group it was before, exact same tank group again, exact same tank group again. So there are 3 of these. Let me use the V key so I get the actual resource groups at 66,000 materials for each group, starting by smoking immediately. And they decided to spawn very close to my bombers. This was their choice, not mine. Hopefully the bombers will swoop in and suppress them, and they won't just get immediately killed by these UAVs. So I have those bombers, and then in the background I have 5 or 6, looks like 5 little mechs, the little rat tanks. If they get their first strike on, great. If they don't, life is not so good, a lot like Advanced Wars. And then an anti-air way back there, because I was trying to pull it in to shoot down these UAVs, but it did not get there in time. So
target locked.
Let's give it a rip. It did hit. Oh, there we go. Bombers are already flying. Those missiles are really arcing up. I don't know what they're going for. So these enemies do not have a lot of EMP defense, and they're just getting absolutely mauled. There go some mech shots as well, just shredding that guy. Yeah, so there are the missile interceptors from the bombers. It's sort of hard to tell the missiles and the interceptors apart. The missiles are a little bit longer. You can just kind of tell if you look at them. Looks like the anti-air is still shooting. It's having a lot of trouble. These guys are small. They're very spinny, especially that one. This one's spinny too. It looks like it already got chopped. With the exception of my anti-air, pretty much every vehicle on my team cares about nothing except for the weapon loadout of the enemy vehicles. So a lot of them even have negative adjusters for armor cost. Looks like we took damage to the anti-air. I always do that. Looks like we took damage to the anti-air again. This time on the front, it tanks this much better. There's actually another layer of wedges behind that, if memory serves. Why it's taking the missiles is beyond me, though. I would expect the bombers to be a bigger sponge for them. Okay, so this is turning out to be a little bit of a problem. It looks like they don't have Shift E instead of letting go of Shift and then E. In theory, the bombers can take these out. We'll see how well it actually works. Oh, I saw a missile explosion there? No, it was just the missile terminating. It looks like the missiles aren't locking on. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. It looks like they don't have a despawn setting on them, and this is hard to deal with, no matter how good your detection is. Oh wait, do they not have good enough detection? No, that wasn't the problem. It was... That might have been not helping, though. Yeah, even with perfect detection, it is not easy to shoot these things down. Well, crash into the ground. And I'm gonna put the detection back. So, got those guys. We've also been watching mostly my rat tanks. I'm actually spawning in some crater makers. They're good for getting vision, which I'm starting to run out of because I'm getting past my spy satellite range. Although I do have one I've here somewhere. It's not fully at altitude because I have it in another group and it's a pain in the butt to bring just it up to altitude. Although it is doable. Here we go. Now the fight's really going to start. So we'll show those off. I may start bringing in medium tanks later. I actually built a new tank for the medium tank, so we'll see that. The heavy tank's actually a different vehicle now. Okay, so I spawned in a fairly fairly good chunk of enemies. They're very similar to what we've seen before. There is one different main tank that I'll try to zoom in on. We've got the Crater Maker this time. I was letting the enemies' decos and everything spawn in, and, well, the Crater Maker already took a shot before that was done. Big space gun. Not actually as much plasma cannon as you might expect. Let me try to see which one she hit. It's very obvious. There we go. I don't think anything else hit. Although, actually, this could have been an APHE shell from the tank. They're very small, just a little armor-capped head, and against little rat tanks like this, they're pretty effective. However, well,
Target locked.
her missile defense isn't the best. Oh, you can see a plasma shot warp down in front of the camera there. Oh, it's shooting at the Charybdis. That's not optimal.
Engaging now.
It took significant damage to this light tank, probably missile barrages while I wasn't paying attention. She's missing her face, but she'll be okay until the turret actually goes down. That's the big problem. There's more Crater Maker shells going in. That one was a miss. Something that I've noticed is flares sometimes sit kind of underground, so you can't actually shoot them. And only my battlecopter has good defenses that actually properly deal with that sort of thing. So I don't know why... Oh, there's collision avoidance. It's not working very well, though. That guy's yeah. Literally every block got deleted. Every single one. Both of those vehicles, I'm pretty sure, had collision avoidance on, and neither was particularly successful. Yeah, that was a good shot from the Crater Maker. Not dead center like that one. That's really what we're going for. Laser damage is actually respectable here, too. Obviously, one big shell is a little bit better than those smaller shells. I was thinking about retrofitting all of my vehicles with better missile programming like the battlecopter has, but didn't get around to it. It's potentially worthwhile, especially on the bombers, actually, because they have so much missile firepower, and it's much easier to fit into them than some of the other vehicles. Still operating pretty well, though. Actually, still a little bit of laser firepower. Part of an engine, since she's moving, it's got to be the actual fuel block, so... Yep, still got enough stuff to operate, which is really surprising considering. Anyway, I've got to get these things healed up. I forgot after the last fight, and let me pull them before any of them gets deleted anymore. Yep, max 0%. That was every single block. Oh, well, it looks like we've got something else to do very soon.
Listening.
What is this? A light tank of some variety? Not that expensive.
Moving
One
out.
bomber probably can take it on, but, you know,
Listening.
whole point
Moving
in
out.
bombers and
Listening.
other air defenses or
Moving
other
out.
aerial vehicles is that they move very fast. So why only move one? These won't get there in time. These are just going to be there for healing.
On my way.
So bring in all the bombers. Do the good old American liberation on them.
Listening.
Gotta bring some freedom.
Listening.
So whether or not you're playing Eagle or, you know, oh, this is the anti-air. I actually want this to be pretty far away. It means I missed the bomber. This is the last bomber.
Listening.
Playing Eagle or playing from the depths. Bombers are nice in that they move around very quickly and absolutely delete enemy vehicles. That guy's fast. It looks like he's trying to target the bombers. Let's see what they're doing first. Yeah, that's not going to work very well. It does make sense to target them because they have such high firepower. Oh, this guy's fast too. These are rocket tanks. I've seen these guys go into orbit before. So these are going 126 meters per second as their top speed. I don't know what they're actually doing right now. Okay. That can be very hard to deal with. I did not realize this is what we're up against. I might not actually be able to hit them. I might have to wait for them to run out of gas. If they're not capable of that, are they? They're not really capable of hurting me either. Maybe I'll be able to shoot the wheels off. Maybe I'll get a lucky hit. These missiles are very short range. So this is unfortunate. I wish I wasn't being sieged so that I could retreat and bring in vehicles that can actually hit these guys effectively. These do have prediction guidance. It is not always very effective. It's just not doing a good job. It really should be able to deal with these guys. I think they might have turning thrusters, though, that are running out of gas. That might be the bigger problem. Yeah, if that anti-air was full health, I think this battle would be pretty easy. Not being full health, I'm just running through a lot of gas for nothing. Oh my god, I finally hit it. I was about to actually put an escape hatch on my bomber because I realized I forgot to do that. Well, I actually managed to pop the turret with the anti-air. I dropped myself onto it, so I'm slowly healing it with my repair tentacles. Very slow process, hasn't even moved to percent. And it's very far away, so it's not doing much damage. You can see the spin-clipped armor here. It's how they get such dense vehicles. There's heavy armor clipped into the metal. I don't think this is decoys overlapping. Whoops. I think it's actually spin-clipped. Oh my god, these are so slow. Oh, it's 2 damage, it's 2 damage. We've got her, we've got her. Finally. I've treated my bombers back to my own territory. My anti-air is way out here. It's actually a problem. So, hopefully a resolvable problem, but this is an injured anti-air way out in no man's land. So, ooh, heavy tanks, presumably. It's cheaper, though, for whatever reason. Well, I'm going to try to get a mildly cathartic fight in here, because, man, that one was a pain. And then I'm going to cut the episode after that. Alright, hopefully this is my cathartic battle. The anti-air is retreating and injured, and a lot of bombers, mostly fast-moving vehicles. So bombers, there's one crater maker up there somewhere, destroying these guys. So this is the AT Kitty Ride. I don't really know what exactly is going on here. Certainly something. I didn't make that up, that's what it's called. Much more space than I thought. They do use a lot of Draba-approved turret Tetris. This is the Martyr, so it does kind of what you'd expect the Martyr to do. Points up and I believe shoots fast kinetic shells. And we've got a bunch of technicals here. So, let's see how we get on. I actually don't want my bombers to crash into each other that much, so let's keep one of them. Oh, there's the Crater Maker landing a pretty big shot. Another pretty big shot. The Kitty Ride does not like that. The Martyrs are shooting back. It looks like they're shooting at the Crater Maker. It's hard to tell sometimes. One of our bombers is losing health too. We're actually taking our first real shots to some extent, at least on the bombers. Not much damage though. They do have some heavy armor on the underside in front of the actual important components. The cockpit is not one of those. But the ammo, the AI, those are protected, so light shells from the early game enemies won't just immediately blow up the bomber. The missiles will, they can penetrate the heavy armor, and later in the game, we're going to find enemies who have guns that can actually take care of them. So here's some Hesh coming in from the recon. Oh, that's the tank. This is the recon. Looks like it's either stopped firing for some other reason. Enemy 2 damage, yeah, it's just salvage at this point. Or depleted its belt feds. Oops. Oh, I know how that happened. This guy is in patrol mode. Okay, I'm not sure which enemies the council is, so I'm gonna have to figure that one out in a second. I'm also gonna have to fix some of my other bombers that are gonna be doing unfortunate things. So I'm gonna end this episode by just having this bomber explode, and then just saving this is not gonna happen. It will give me, we'll call it useful scouting information. If I'm really lucky, it will kill something. Oh, I can't even move it. So we're also gonna see that it's very easy for your character to die. Due to the increased damage and the fact that you can't make them immune. So let's see what we're looking at here. There is a lot of anti-missile firepower. Or anti-air firepower. And actually pretty heavily armored, aren't they? Only 30% armor though. Oh, that's because they're cheap. Okay. This looks dangerous. It's shooting purple at me. and has detection. I'm assuming the base doesn't do much. My missiles are radar guided, so they're just all going to lock in on the stone base. Stone's not what it used to be for EMP protection, but we're probably not going to do much because of that. I can't get out of this bomber, so we are going to die in it. Oh, all of our missiles are getting intercepted. Let's do that at least. That'll give us a slightly better chance of actually hitting. Yeah, we are actually taking fire though. Let's see if we get we're getting a few hits in, not very many. Did a little bit of HE damage. Either our EMP isn't hitting or it's being totally mitigated. Because it's small shots, that's the more likely outcome. Looks like our anti-missile is working moderately well. We're actually surviving for a pretty significant length of time with our somewhat cheesy tactics. But yeah, we definitely need more bombers to be particularly effective. The biggest problem though is these EMP shells. There we go, taking out a lot of the missiles. The other ones are likely going to have trouble hitting us. These look like they don't have APN or prediction guidance on them, so their chances of hitting a spinning bomber like this are pretty low. I mean, we're not going to win, right? Like, that's just not going to happen. We've done 1% damage. I can't change targets to these other enemies that are actually shooting back at us. I could drop down Rambot and destroy all of this, but that's a little too cheesy. I'm not going to do that. Actually racking up some decent explosive damage. Stone isn't that great at defending against explosions. It's not as bad as wood or anything. We also do have significant staggered fire on our anti-missiles, so they can perform a near continuous rain of missile defenses. Just in general, I do think that anti-missile systems should not benefit from the increased firepower. I can kind of see why you'd want them to when you're doing changes in firepower amounts to change the difficulty ratios, right, to make the game easier or harder. Well, yeah, you might want this sort of stuff to do more damage, but when it's meant to keep the game balanced, but to make it like more gritty, I really do like the 300% damage for a change, but I do think that it makes anti-missiles just too strong. It's sort of a problem. Although missiles are too good in 3 times damage, I feel like, because their first strike capabilities become even more aggressive compared to how they would be normally, although that does apply to some other types of fire, like packs, or that sort of thing. So it's a little arguable, but I still feel that they would be too good. Okay, we're actually, we haven't really been hit in a while. It looks like these shells are actually, some of them are flak, some of them are kinetic. The purple ones are kinetic, the rest of them look like they're flak shells of some kind. They could be HE. HE is more effective, just timed HE. I guess the explosions aren't big enough to be flak, unless they're incredibly small shells. Man, I wish I wasn't using radar-guided missiles here. And yes, it is called a bomber. Yes, it is shooting missiles. They're barely missiles. They have a very short range. As we saw earlier against the no-crawlers, they're called for whatever reason. Man, if missile interceptors weren't so good, this would be a much shorter fight in many, many regards. Maybe we'll start doing some EMP damage soon. I could convert my other... This is taking a long time, yeah. I was thinking that I wasn't going to do this. Maybe we're just not shooting... No, we are shooting EMP warheads, they're just not doing any damage. For variety's sake, I did not copy those. For variety's sake, I'll do frag on one side, EMP on the other. Looks like we've lost a little bit of firepower, but probably still have quite a bit. Less than I thought, but that's fine. I am not doing frag damage. I thought we were shooting on both sides. Now these are just closed. Nope, they're shooting. Those are the explosive ones. Okay, these are just not shoot. Oh, it's the anti-missiles that we're shooting. My fire control must be gone. That's a shame. Maybe the EMP would have ended this a lot faster then, especially if I get a lucky shot near the mainframe. we're going to despawn this soon. I didn't intend to take this base out. I was told that the bases are big and they're really supposed to slow down your progress. That seems to not be happening here. The bombers have been highly overperforming so far. I will say that much at least, and they are doing mildly cheesy things. I will also accept that. The enemy also does cheesy things, so yeah, a little tit for tat there. And they do cheesy things that I don't have access to. I don't have access to spin clipping because that's illegal. I would be arrested. We have different laws in Japan, apparently. So my other experience to like the Japanese difficulty levels is I was trying some moonboarding, which is a standardized climbing board. So every moonboard is approximately the same. They do have different hold sets, but like there's a classic hold set, and almost everyone uses that. So you can climb the same problem as anyone else in the world. And I've done a fair amount of benchmarks, and I've done them from several grades, like V4 to V6. I'm not that strong a climber. I don't do much in the V6 range either. I mostly fall off them. There are only a few that I can do. But I tried a V4 from Lee Hosiak, who got pretty famous for becoming a very strong, relatively strong moonboarder very quickly. Are we not shooting on either side now? It was really hard. Okay, we are still shooting explosive missiles. Oh, that's interesting. So, we're going for these drones. I don't know why the missiles are going for them. They have one turns. I think they should be going.
Yes. Yes.
Taking control.
So, anyway. There are these very small yellow holds on the moonboard, and they made you do like a real move off of one of them. So, not like you reach up to it, stabilize on it, then bump to a better hold. No, like you're going up on that and then properly pulling down on it and going other hand to the top out. I've done harder crimp climb or higher grade crimp climbs outdoors that are significantly easier in areas that are pretty well known for sandbagging. So always just like a little suspicious of the Japanese Japanese difficulty curve. Well, really unfortunate we only had half a bank of missiles, actually a little bit less. This was a incredibly long fight. But we're getting to the end of it. I wonder... Oh wow, that's a pathetic resource zone. If we don't just get steamrolled, this is almost unlosable. I was doing the normal, like, blitzkrieg strategies that I always do to expand to as many resource zones as possible, because you really don't want to be not mining early in the game. And it's sort of unnecessary. I just get so many more resources than the opponents do. Although, I do have 3 enemies at war with me, so maybe it just is necessary to expand out, but this is almost trivial. Like, this is 1/10 of either of my starting resource zones. Maybe they have some better resource zones. I can't actually see some of their bigger bases. Did I kill that little truck? Oh, there's a drone sitting on the ground. I did not kill that little truck. Oh, that's cute. Presumably it's a supply truck of some sort. It doesn't really seem like the enemy's using supply vehicles, though, as far as I can tell. Maybe they are. No, I did see vehicles going around saying that they're picking up resources. They do have properly operating supply vehicles. So, the campaign seems very functional. A lot of the enemy vehicles are very fun. I'm not a fan of the rocket trucks. I have trauma. Not just that fight either. I have seen them launch themselves into space, and I believe that they do not despawn from high altitude. So, yeah. I don't think I ever lost a fight to that. Or, like, had to give up because I couldn't kill them, because I think I was always lucky and had a crater maker or something in battle. But these bombers actually don't fly that well. They used to fly pretty well, but then I put way more heavy armor into this ammo area because I had way too many issues with the ammo blowing out and killing everything. I thought I could get away with blowout panels or something on top, so I didn't need heavy armor up here, but the explosion was powerful enough that it would wrap around and gut the top of the missiles, and like the cockpit and literally everything else in the vehicle. I haven't had a problem for a while, but I also did more densely armor the bottom, so full layer of alloy and then a heavy armor pull, I think before Hesh could get through. And I might not have had heavy armor on the bottom either. Well, base successfully destroyed. Entirely accidental though, I'll try not to do it again. I do try to slowly march up to the AI to give it the opportunity to properly defend itself and move vehicles around. This unfortunate accident, I'm not giving the enemy the benefit of just destroying my plane intentionally. And actually, we could have lost from not having enough materials. It is expensive to run these. They do run a lot of engines, a lot of fuel. Hopefully we can kill this truck. We might actually have issues with the drone, because we might not be able to lock it. We might have to rely on the one-turns, and the detection on this is atrocious. It's worse than any other vehicle that I'm fielding, because for the most part, it just needs to know the approximate location of the enemy. So it uses wireless snoopers. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, that's a lot of error. Oh, there's a lot of error and they're not locking. One of them locked though and we got it. So small enemies like that, big problem. The missiles won't lock. Unless they're really right on. And there we go, we destroyed the base. Last battle. I thought we were just going to blow up our plane, and we didn't. So we'll escape to safety, and we will engage some of... Oh god.
Moving out.
Oh my god.
Moving out.
Please.
Moving out.
Okay, well, we're going to make a run for it. This is going to be a cliffhanger. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the future.